Greetings and welcome to this holiday edition of Everyday Enchantment. We've been talking about disappointment and gift giving and how to make it easier to move through your holiday. So, check out those other episodes if you have missed them. Today, I am all about magic making that comes through from however we want to wrap it around us. So, around us. So often what I found in my own experience the last 2 months of the year is my experience was very much anchored and grounded into other people, what they wanted, what rituals and memories they wanted to create. And I never really had thought much about what do I love about this time of year. So if you haven't asked yourself that question in a while, what actually lights me up? Maybe it's the darker at night earlier that you get to like put your pajamas on sooner and snuggle in with a cup of tea or hot chocolate and a movie. Maybe you love all the holiday movies, the cheesier the better, and you just like there's a moment that you just want to have where you're just completely on your couch, relaxed, nowhere to go. And those are the kinds of things, again, we think about, but we don't always make space for because we're so wrapped up in all the things. So, what I want to talk about this episode is really how do you make sure you have space and time for the things you actually want to do? And here's the very simple answer. First of all, know what it is you want. When I was going through my divorce a long time ago now, the holidays came and I realized that everything about the holidays were anchored to my husband or experience that I had with my husband or my family, right? And what was actually mine. And it was a really freeing question to ask myself because I could do things in that moment, in that space, or maybe I could have before, but I just didn't realize it until that moment that what do I want to do? And so I said to myself, okay, I don't need 10 rituals. I don't need 20 things on top of things. Generally speaking, I want my December to feel very spacious. I want there to be space for resting and downtime and movie marathons and hot chocolate and maybe a car ride to see all the lights in the neighborhoods. Those kinds of things that are more spontaneous that cannot happen if we have everything crammed, from moment to moment. So I was just talking to a friend of mine and we were talking about how basically the next 4 weekends or 5 weekends are like book solid. So it's really hard for you to make something sacred and powerful for yourself if you don't have any breathing space. So my first thing is you've got to clear a little space for yourself. I know years ago, I used to take a day off just to go shopping one day. And actually, I didn't do a lot of shopping because most of my shopping was probably pretty much done, but it was in the middle of December and it just felt festive to me. I would go, have this beautiful day, check out all the things that were going on in the stores, have a great lunch, dinner. Like it was just an experience for me. And so, again, something that I enjoyed, it didn't feel pressure, it felt fun, it got me into the holiday spirit. And those are the things I want you to start to think about. What do you already do? Like maybe you have a beautiful routine or ritual around putting lights on a tree and going through your ornaments, decorating your house, or maybe it just feels like everything is chaos. So, again, slowing down will allow you to be in touch with number one, what it is you really want. I'd much rather have some intimate kind of holiday dates with people, right? Not the Gosh, I can remember when I was a kid, my parents had a Christmas Eve party, and there were probably at least 50 people, and it was just a lot. And I think that that was way more the trend back, in that generation than now. But to me, I don't want that. I want, again, slower. I want to have more meaningful connection with people. I also really don't drink. So it's not about partying and overindulging for me. It's about luxury and extravagance and indulgence that's not from that overconsumption place. So I think it's an interesting thing to think about is how can extravagance not look like what we have seen it out, right? Or, other people modeling for us, but what does it feel like? An entire Sunday in December with no plans feels so extravagant because it absolutely allows for whatever wants to come through, right? Is it raining? Do we snuggle? Is it beautiful and sunny? Do we go out? What is it that we want to create? And that spontaneous flow, I feel is so halted at this time of year. Like, oh, we'll get back to our lives. The other thing to me is I remember being at the gym this time of year. Is like the only one, oh, well, no, the only one, but there were a handful of us that were at the gym and moving our bodies, taking a walk, again, really feeding your well-being is going to help support you in feeling, again, rested, grounded, connected. Do I actually really want to do that or go to that or what have you? You'll have so much more clarity. But I think like I'm actually been thinking about like, ooh, what would a little spa day, right? Which seems like, oh my gosh, you shouldn't even be thinking about that. That's what my mind is saying, where I'm getting pampered and I'm just, again, allowing my physical body to be rejuvenated and refreshed. I think there's so much joy to be had when we allow ourselves to be what most people would call selfish. Putting yourself first, putting your care, exceptional care. What is it that you want? I remember I created several rituals for myself through my divorce that I have now done almost every year. But even this year, I was like, I don't want to do that this year. Again, there isn't some playbook that says we have to do X, Y, and Z every year. It's kind of like that system of like ideas and suggestions, and then you get to pull based on what that is. The spa day. I also love there's this beautiful gardens. It's called Longwood Gardens for those of you who are local, and spending a day there, just reflecting on my year, sipping something warm, enjoying the friendship of whomever I'm with. Again, putting these things that really help me appreciate this time of year for myself, not for anybody else. But I think so often, again, we feel like because we're taking so much on, there isn't room for us. I want us to think about you should be at the front of the line, at the front of the list, because everything flows through that. The more you say, ooh, I want to make my grandmother's favorite cookie recipe because it connects me to her this time of year. I don't need to make 10 cookies, unless that's your jam. One meaningful act. And when am I going to do that? If we're doing it at 10 o'clock at night and cramming it in, again, what is that saying to us about what we actually value and what we care about? So making magic requires a little space, a little slow down, requires us to be not trying to control everything or do everything a certain way. There's imperfection in magic. There's so much that we don't even know we're going to create unless we just set the space for the container, right? I don't always know. Ooh, that was one of my most favorite memories. I don't know that going in. But the more you rest, the more you take exceptional care of yourself, the more you can show up and be present. We're so thinking about next week and this, then this, and this. We're pulling ourselves out of each moment and we're missing it. The magic, the connection, the sparkly lights, we are missing it because we're so focused on the next thing, the next thing, the next thing. So I want you to, again, in summary, create a couple pockets for yourself. They could be an hour, a half an hour, 3 hours, a whole day. Use a personal day. Take a day off of work. Do something completely unproductive, something just for fun. Right? Channel that childhood, when we were young and we were all in awe of this time of year and things just happened. Channel that for yourself. Go outside, take a snowy walk, have a carriage ride, do something you would say, that's nice, but I don't have time for that. Whatever the answer is to that, there's a breadcrumb for you around actually spacing it out. Right, making the time for it. And trust me, a year from now, 3 years from now, what are you going to remember? Not all the other things, that all will all fall away, but the times where you absolutely honored what you love, what you care about. I always buy myself the most beautiful gifts this time of year because, again, I don't need somebody else to, anticipate what I may or may not want. I love to shower myself with it in the season. I'm out shopping, I'm noticing things. I'm like, oh, I would absolutely love that. And I'm absolutely going to give that to myself. So, again, those are the places. You stop at Starbucks, you get the extra whipped cream or the, I don't know, the peppermint. You do things that feel absolutely extravagant and exceptional in a moment. The more we tune to those frequencies, the more we, again, the field around us just absolutely wants to match that rhythm. The more we deny ourselves, oh, we don't or have permission for, you name it. Like that's an old paradigm and an old energy. Mm, And we are absolutely here to show by example that, hey, guess what? The way the exhaust yourself till January model is no longer for sale. Done, not available. The, oh my God, I feel the best I've ever felt going into the next year. That's where we're headed. That's where we want to ground and anchor into. So tell me, pop on over to Everyday Enchantment and tell me how you create these memories for yourself. Do you create these pockets? Again, not always completely scripted, but just giving yourself the space for the magic to happen. I want to hear. For me, it's on Sundays. I don't plan anything the end of the year so that whatever wants to unfold can happen. There are things I know that are like my non-negotiables this year. And again, everything else is in flux. I tell people, I think I'm going to be there, but again, I need to double check. Excuse me. And if that doesn't work for somebody else, I totally honor that too. This isn't about me just putting myself on other people. If it doesn't work for them, we're like, okay, well then we'll circle back another time. I want to honor boundaries, mine and other people's as well. And that being able to be in those spaces, that's what most of us haven't learned or hadn't learned when we were younger because everything was all what's the like everything was in bed with everything else. Speaking of which, I will say quickly before we close the podcast, lovemaking is a beautiful thing this time of year, whether you're with yourself or other people. Enjoy that physical embodiment, that pleasure. I think that we can't get enough when it's cold outside, coming in and warming our bodies and coming back to our sensuality. Again, pleasure is such a place of creativity. It's such a place of magic. And it might not always be exactly perfectly scripted, but the more we practice and play, the more, again, we're just creating that energy. All right, beautifuls. I hope that you have an incredible rest of your holiday season. Tell me all the things, how you're making this completely yours and nobody else's. And if you're running into any issues, no, it's okay to be uncomfortable while you're reprogramming yourself, right? It's okay for other people not to get it and understand. Like we can be in that space when it really is truly going to put us and keep us in our own alignment. Like it's okay. We're not here to, again, be nice to the entire world at the expense of ourselves. All right, that's it. I swear I am done. I am signing off. Have a beautiful holiday season. I cannot wait till next year where we kick off a season 2 of this podcast. So look for all those details coming in the new year. That's it for now, loves. Thank you for tuning into this episode. Get all the juicy details and links we've mentioned in the show notes. If learning more about how you can use your own enchantment to live a oh hell yes life, come get your own coaching session with me by going to staceyandon.com and signing up for my homepage. And as always, come chat with me about this topic and all things enchantment in my Facebook group, Everyday Enchantment. See you on the flip side.